Hello friends, this is Grief speaking. Today we're looking at Tier 6 of the Body Horror Iceberg, and I know, I said I'd try to put 6 and 7 together, but honestly, after going through a lot of the entries, I felt like they both deserve their own video. So we're going through Tier 6 today, as well as some of the entries that I missed in the last couple tiers, so those are going to be up front. So we'll start with those, and then we'll get straight into Tier 6. There's some really dark and weird and funny and cool stuff on this one, so I hope you guys enjoy it. But I won't keep rambling. Let's just get right into Tier 6. Blessed Are the Meek. Blessed Are the Meek is episode 12 of the highly obscure and highly fucked up web series called Father Tucker, the Child Fucker. And yes, it's an entire series about a Catholic priest molesting children, so yeah, that's fun. In this episode, Father Tucker announces the opening of a new children's hospital where he starts to... well, you get the idea. But at one point in the episode, it randomly cuts to him delivering a baby. And I don't mean he delivers someone else's baby. He actually shits out a baby. It's probably one of the most vile web animations I've covered as far as twisted humor goes, right up there with Alfred's Playhouse. Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams is an animated stop-motion short about a little boy who's trying to sleep when a pair of creepy gargoyles enter his room and begin to torment him. Vikinter Games. Vikinter is an indie game developer whose games often feature twisted settings that seem like something from Hellraiser, with fleshy torture, body part, crucifix madness. Making Friends. This is referring to an episode of the Nickelodeon series Making Friends in which two characters smash into each other and find that their bodies have now been conjoined. Okay, so now we're moving into Tier 6. Ballface. Ballface is a YouTube video that popped up a few years back, and it seems like it always comes back into circulation every once in a while. The video shows a mysterious floating fleshy orb with a very creepy face in various rooms, but always seemingly stalking the viewer. Art the General. Art the General is a very bizarre web animation that is kind of based on The Simpsons, but it's kind of its own thing and a complete mind screw. The basic gist is that a random guy with a New Zealand accent shows up and takes over Homer Simpson's life and kicks him out of his own home. Anytime there's a close-up on a character, they look grotesque, and this is exhibited when Homer gets hit in the face with a brick and his face breaks open and starts spewing blood. Crabs. Crabs is a recent film about horseshoe crabs that begin eating people after they become radiated from a nuclear power plant collapsing. There's not much to say about this one. It's a pretty standard monster flick and an homage to horror movies of the kind from the 70s and 80s. Eat My Shit. Eat My Shit is the short film precursor to Skins, which was one of the entries on the last tier. It features the same woman from Skins who has an anus for a mouth, and in this short, she orders soup at a restaurant, which she pours into a funnel that leads to her ass, which I guess we can assume has a mouth. Well, I know what you're thinking. If she eats through her ass, does that mean she defecates from her face? Well, this short film kind of answers that question for all of us. After the waitress laughs at her, the woman then takes a shit out of her asshole mouth onto the bill. It's really disgusting, and you can find it on YouTube, so if you want to freak out your friends, there you go. Goodbye to the Dolphins Dream. Goodbye to the Dolphins Dream is a screamer site and considered to be one of the things you should never Google. The site was very odd and was essentially made to promote a musical artist's experimental music. The main page features several black boxes that all do different things when clicking on them, but mostly it features very strange music that a lot of people have described as pure ear rape. But the reason it's in this iceberg is because when you first open the site, a girl with pink hair named Aruka says in a lovely voice, "Please go ahead after killing me." If you start clicking on her illustration, she violently disintegrates and strangely she'll regenerate too. The strangest thing you notice after killing her is that her blood pool is in the shape of a dolphin, probably referencing the site's title. Gorgeous Vortex. So as far as I understand, Gorgeous Vortex is a short film that was originally cut from the anthology film VHS Viral, and probably for good reason because of how far it deviates from the series, both in cinematography and general storytelling, mostly because Gorgeous Vortex doesn't actually use the found footage style, which is the staple of the franchise. Anyway, it's hard to explain because it doesn't make much sense and is out of order, but basically this woman seems to be tracked by a secret organization. There's random footage of women being tortured that pops up, and it all culminates with the woman meeting a really strange-looking twisted creature. You can find the full thing on YouTube, so just go watch it and maybe you can make heads or tails of it. Horace in Slow Motion. Horace in Slow Motion is a really strange kids show that follows Horace, a pig, doing various physical comedy bits that always slow down so you can see his flabby body in all its bouncy glory. The thing is, Horace looks pretty much like a human except his face and ears. That and the gross body stuff Horse does, along with the low-budget CGI, make it a recipe for creepy. Jack, a story from the past. This is a really obscure one. It's actually a video by OG YouTuber Amazing Phil from 2007 and is a very low-grade animation about a character named Jack that has multiple arms, which only makes his life harder. Last Days of Humanity. Okay, well, where do we start with this one? Last Days of Humanity is a gore grind band from the Netherlands. Their sound is mostly composed of relentless blast beats and short songs about gory actions. The album covers alone are very disturbing as they're typically real photographs of horribly mutilated corpses, like a body with a brain out of its cranial box or a mutilated man's corpse. But the lyrics can be seen as even more disturbing. I'll read out some of the darker lyrics, but I will warn you, as far as descriptions go, this is probably the most brutal and disturbing of the Iceberg so far, so fair warning. These are lyrics from the song Necrophile that describe exactly what you think it does. Hear the sound, the seal is broken, the body bag now open, the swarming infected mass discovered, putrefied stench in the nose, nauseous vomit in the throat, the remainings of the pussy spread wide open, the dick in the mass, embrace the dead. Yeah, so that's a song about someone banging a corpse. Next is from the song Child Butchering. Highly pregnant, she walks into the supermarket. In the toilet, she delivers her baby, the new life form. She puts it in a bag and smashes it against the wall. Bones are broken, body parts separated, blood and slime flow together. The whole porridge she then throws in a dustbin. A few times she did, she slayed a few of her children. A few times she slayed her own flesh and blood before she was caught by the authorities. Yeah, so that's pretty fucked up too. Okay, so this next one is easily the most disturbing, so once again, fair warning if you want to skip ahead about 30 seconds, but this one is called Disgusting Sexual Lust. Innocent and gentle, she lies in the crib, probably her own little paradise after the womb. Then it happened, it hurts, her legs spread wide open, her little bones now broken, her virginity is lost, her entrails severely damaged, her blood is flowing out, she cries, she screams. That's how he slays that sick pig called father with his dick in his own baby. Her just starting life is flowing away. An extremely deformed little cadaver is all that remains. Somehow that one was the most unsettling thing on this iceberg so far, and it's just song lyrics, but to each his own, I suppose. Let's try to move on from that one. Lloyd's Lunchbox. Lloyd's Lunchbox is a really twisted animated short where a character performs disturbing acts of bodily injury on himself. The short is structured into 7 days, starting with Monday when he sneezes his own brain out, and continuing through the week with each day featuring more gross out injuries. It definitely falls into the cringy category. On one day he rips his fingernails out, and on another he stretches his eyelids out and cuts them with scissors, then doing the same with his lips and the underside of his tongue. It's animated body horror at its best. Lobotomy. Lobotomy is a very disturbing black and white stop motion video posted to YouTube 16 years ago, and despite the low res quality, holds up as being sufficiently creepy. Mandatory Madness. Mandatory Madness is a Newgrounds Flash animation that features a lone man taking on an entire organization, slaying hundreds in various and brutal ways. It's really a blast from the past because it's just got that classic Newgrounds style that I enjoyed so much from back in the day. Meat Product. Life Meat. This is a pretty cool analog horror short that plays like an infomercial for a new product called Life Meat, which is meant to be a meat alternative for the future. However, 10 years after being put on the market, the product begins killing people. A newspaper clipping in the short says reports have been made of abnormal swelling, skin, and muscle deformation, mud mucus, and in most cases severe illness and or death upon consuming Life Meat. At one point in the video, it cuts to home footage and we see a human arm on the ground covered in blood with the rest of the body out of view. Suddenly, the arm deforms for a half second before it cuts away. It's really well done and stands out among some of the more cookie-cutter analog horrors we've been seeing. Nintendo, A Sad Story. Nintendo, A Sad Story is an animated short film from over a decade ago that is truly bizarre. It begins with dirty-looking Mario putting some kind of dangerous pill into a drink, which he brings on a tray to another room. In this room, we see Shigeru Miyamoto in his underwear playing his Wii. As Mario approaches, Miyamoto's body contorts and he's about to attack when Mario begins playing what I think is an ocarina, which puts Miyamoto to sleep. While he's sleeping, Mario forces the liquid from earlier into his mouth. He then heads upstairs where a severely deformed Princess Peach sits in a room themed like a Mario level. Before they can escape, Miyamoto appears wearing a Bowser costume, and following behind him is none other than Reggie, who grabs Mario and puts him in a pipe where he beats him mercilessly while we see garbled footage of Reggie presenting the Wii to the world. Miyamoto has a change of heart and picks up an original NES, smashing Reggie on the head repeatedly and killing him. Unfortunately, the pill Mario gave Miyamoto kicks in and he dies. Mario, now severely deformed from the beatings, grabs the bottle of pills and downs it, dying next to Miyamoto. I mean, wow. The fact that someone put this much effort into an allegory as a way of critiquing Nintendo at the time, it's kind of awesome. Props to the creator Graham Young for this one. Octocat Adventure. Octocat is a series of fast-paced, crudely animated shorts featuring a cat with 8 legs. The most interesting thing about this series is that the episodes are typically less than a minute and, like I said, very crudely drawn, and then all of a sudden in the last episode the animation kicks it up to 10 and it becomes very well produced. The videos can be kind of annoying, but it's worth it for that change-up in part 5. Smile. Smile is another old web animation that shows a man standing on a high platform. In front of him are a panel of smiling people and a large screen above him simply says smile. As he tries to conjure up a smile, the smiling people press buttons that shoot large metal spikes into his body. He eventually is impaled with several of the spikes and falls down to his death, after which the smiling people just start partying. SpongeBob Makes a Krabby Patty. SpongeBob Makes a Krabby Patty is an animated YouTube video where SpongeBob makes Patrick a Krabby Patty, although his process of doing so is not what you'd expect. He grabs a random person and lays them on a table where he cuts their stomach open and removes the intestines. Then he cuts off their head and hangs their body on a hook, which he begins slashing open with a sword. He then cooks the innards of the person up and serves them on a Krabby Patty to Patrick, who thoroughly enjoys it. All the while, the camera zooms in on a missing person. The ending I remember. This is a creepypasta about Toy Story 3 where some version of the movie supposedly existed, where the toys were not saved from going into the incinerator and instead melt as they scream in terror. The Real Thomas the Train Man. The Real Thomas the Train Man is a psychedelic YouTube video where Thomas is a train made out of human flesh with a nipple on top of his back spurting milk and a puckering butthole producing a strange liquid. As he strains to chug along, his intestines rip out of him, and he freaks as the screen flashes red. Well, that's a weird one. The State of Loss and Woe. I believe this is referring to this strange YouTube video that shows a man dying and going to hell, where he's brutally tortured in various ways, like having molten lava being poured all over his body. All the while, a song describing all of this is being sung by a choir in the background. What the hell is this? I mean, who made this? The strangest video ever. This is a YouTube video that lives up to its name and lingers around the weird side of YouTube. It's really just a series of animated shorts, each one being only a few seconds long, and for the most part these are just silly and creative videos. However, there are some more disturbing parts like the Queen pulling her skull out of her face or a poodle being sawed in half. All the while, upbeat 8-bit style music plays in the background. In my opinion, this is a YouTube classic and you should just go watch it if you're into weird YouTube. The Thomas & Friends Institute of Innovation. The Thomas & Friends Institute of Innovation is a film produced by Studio Hansa between 2013 and 2014. Apparently it was created to promote Thomas & Friends to commissioners and merchandising partners worldwide. The film hasn't actually been released to the general public and is likely to remain confidential, although brands can arrange for private viewings. It features 2 scientists experimenting with improvements to Thomas the Tank Engine. These experiments include Thomas being tested in growing limbs, Percy being injected with Botox, and Sir Topham Hatt using steroids. I'm kind of on the fence on to whether this is legitimately associated with Thomas & Friends or just a hoax, but either way, it's one of the more interesting lost media examples I've heard of recently. Very, very old demo reel. And to finish it up, this is it's a demo reel by an FX artist that features mostly really disturbing looking humanoids dancing among other things. It's really weird and really cool. Okay, so that's tier 6, and wow, we're down to only one more tier 7, and it's kind of crazy to think. I think I've been working on this iceberg for 2 months now, and it's really been a lot of fun. Every single tier I end up finding really cool stuff that I didn't know about before, or sometimes even just reminders of things that I forgot about. So I hope you guys are having a similar experience. I don't got much more to say. I'm looking forward to tier 7. I hope you guys are too. This is Grief speaking. Goodbye, friends.
life. Wait for you. I guess I got the time. I guess I got the time.